Guys, wow, where do I stand in my faith? Where do I stand in my faith? I don't know. I don't think anyone cares really to know, but I'm a sucker for this type of conversation, so I just felt like I had to, talk about it. This question has been bothering me in the last 2 years now because I'm someone who grew up in a very Christian home. I've learned so many things over the years and so many experiences. My parents are still very much Christian and I love that for them. I wish I could be, that way. I do enjoy the faith and everything. The thing is, there's just a lot of questions that I wasn't asking, growing up, and I just didn't care to know. But now, I'm asking, and it's nobody's giving me the answers, and it's everybody just wants you to be quiet and don't ask. And I don't know, it's making me feel uneasy. So let's go back to the very beginning and figure out how got here. Growing up in Nigeria, religion is the number one. Religion is a big deal, whether you're Islam, whether you're Christian, whether you're a traditionalist. It was very hard to find someone that didn't believe in God. Grew up in a Christian home. Both my parents were very active members of the church. My dad was a deacon and my mom was a deaconess. I used to sing in the choir from as long as I can remember. When I was 6, I remember I was so tiny, so small, and I would be in the choir and train my voice and all that because I'm a singer in the ear. I forget sometimes. Obviously, a lot of things has to happen for you to come to a conclusion or to start questioning things. So I don't want to be one of those people that is oh, because this happened to you, that is why you are now questioning or whatever. Nothing has to happen to you to be able to ask questions or be curious, you know what I'm saying? But for me, a lot of things happened. One of the very experiences that I remember that really made me do I was gonna say this for the conclusion, but I believe that God exists. I believe that there is a higher power and all of that. Yeah, but my problem is with the doctrines. That's what I can't seem to merge together. I don't believe that the universe came out of nothing and we just, I don't believe that, because the law of causality to say that something has to come out of something. Back to the story. There was this guy that played the piano, right? He was a grown man, 32 years old. I can't imagine how old I was. I'm gonna say I was probably 12. Now that I look back, wow, I was actually very young, you know what I'm saying? Mind you, I've always been this kind of person that I've always hung out with older people, not because I felt people my age were immature or anything like that, but I just always found myself around older people. I liked hanging out with them, and they would treat me like a baby, and that kind of thing. So even in the choir, I was the youngest in the choir. In the youth, wherever, I was the youngest. That's just been my whole life and whatnot. So there I am, he messages me, takes my number out of the choir group chat on WhatsApp and messages me and goes hey, you have a really good voice, you should train more. Oh, thank you. I can help you. Whenever you come for rehearsals, before we start, we can do a little warm up. Me, I didn't really see it as anything because number one, this man is grown as fuck. Number two, they're grown bad bitches in the choir and everything. You get what I'm saying? It didn't even cross my mind that this man would have any sexual intentions, romantic. You get what I'm saying? In my head, I'm oh, he really wants to train my voice. 2 Saturdays, whenever I'd come, because I used to take solo a lot, so they would he would okay, let's warm up, do your solo, let's change this. It was actually going pretty normal. Choir master and whatnot, he used to be there, so it wasn't just me and him alone, blah blah blah, and they'd be putting me through. Usually we would just text. He would text me Sunday, you did really well today, hope you are getting ready for your next song. And then Saturday, you text me after rehearsal like, this is where you messed up for tomorrow on Sunday. That's just how it was. And then slowly the conversation started going into the week. Children always want to be like in where they want to feel grown, they want to be in the conversations. Even my younger brothers, you know, whenever my friends would come to see me or whatnot, my younger brothers would always want to be in the living room and be a part of the conversations and be laughing at jokes that they don't understand. Like, that is normal. It is you as the adult that is supposed to put a boundary, make it clear, and, you know, be very clean with the things you say, the way you act in front of that child. He's like texting me, oh, how was school, how was this? Slowly he starts going into like, I hope you don't have a boyfriend. When a grown man starts saying all of that BS, run for your dear life. And then one night, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm just doing Wattpad. The story that I was reading was not like rated R. It was like a genuinely like a story about a friend group or something. Okay, and then he brought out the innuendo and was like, oh, Wattpad, why would you be reading that? That's a bad book. You're a naughty girl. I was like, oh yeah, the book that I'm reading is just very plain and normal. Like, I did know that there were books like that featured graphic content, you get what I'm saying? But at that moment, I wasn't reading none of that book. I wasn't really having any of the conversation. One, because I didn't even find him attractive. Like, two, like, I'm gonna see this person in church on Sunday. Like, I don't know why you keep texting me. And he's like, what are you wearing? I put question mark. I remember this very clearly. Oh, send me a picture of yourself without clothes. And I didn't respond to the message for like a week. And then I just stopped speaking to him in general. Back then in my head, I just didn't care for him. Mostly because, you know, we started like a youth thing in church. So I started hanging out with the teenagers and the youths more often. So like, I rarely used to come to choir practice because we had a lot of things to do in youth programs. So that's where like the whole distancing myself. I wasn't actively in my head like, oh, I'm gonna distance myself away from him. It just naturally happened, you get. And then one day there was a news broke out. Girl, right? She went to tell the pastor that this grown man, the keyboard player, the 32-year-old man, I'm gonna call him Ben, that Ben was messaging her, asking her to be his girlfriend and all that stuff. And then, you know, gossip and talks like that. And other girls were like saying, oh yeah, that guy is so weird, he also messaged me too, da. So obviously I was like, oh yeah, he actually messaged me. And then he was asking like these weird questions and everybody was like, oh my god, like that. I was like, I didn't. And then I checked. That's where everybody was like, go open the message, let me see. And then I was scrolling and then I found the chat and I realized that I was blocked. And that was on Facebook, by the way. So when you're blocked at that time, all the messages delete and everything. But like you can see the user's name, but like there's no profile picture. So I was like, oh yeah, he blocked me. So yeah, so everybody, rumors went out. Everybody was like, oh yeah, he messaged Divine to da. And then the pastor calls my dad and he's like, did you hear what happened with your daughter? This happened. Bring her to the office and we're going to ask her questions. My daddy wakes me up 12 a.m. He's like, what am I hearing? I'm like, what? And I love my daddy so much, right? I feel like fathers, a little bit victim blame, especially Nigerian fathers. They are quick to say, you're too fast, you don't this boy, this, that. But yeah, you know, they're already saying all those kind of stuff. And then he was like, so why would you not tell me that this man is messages? And genuinely, like, in my head at that point, like, as long as I didn't reply to the message, it wasn't a big deal to me. You know what I'm saying? As long as I didn't reply to the message, blah blah blah, or he wasn't video calling me or calling me all the time, it just wasn't a big deal. In my head I was like, obviously I ignored it and we never talked again. And that's what happened. And I was genuinely telling my parents and they were so upset that I didn't mention it to them. Valid, you know. My daddy was like, okay, drove me to the church. Mind you, I'm already crying, I'm already sad because like You know how Nigeria is. Everybody was already pointing fingers. Ah, this one don't already spoil. This one. Mind you, this is the man that literally, he was the one that asked me to send him pictures of myself. He was the one, yet I'm the one being flamed for being spoiled and being too fast. I didn't even send the pictures. Hey, God, we're at the office. This pastor was busy asking me. They were interrogating me. I've never seen this in my life. They sat a 12-year-old, I don't want to think about it because it's actually going to make me cry. They sat a 12-year-old girl and a grown 32-year-old man. 32-year-old man is messaging 12-year-old girl, and everybody was interrogating me. They were like, have you ever had a boyfriend? And then the thing that actually ticks my daddy's head off, that my daddy was actually so pissed, and my daddy was like, don't ever speak to my daughter like that again. The pastor was like, oh, bring her, because his wife was a nurse. It was like, bring her to the hospital, we're going to check if she's still a virgin. My daddy was like, absolutely not, stand up. And that's how we left. My daddy was so upset. My daddy was fuming and everything. But then again, nobody stood up to the pastor, and everything went on in church like it was normal. My parents felt some sort of embarrassment and told me not to sing in the choir for like 2 months. So I didn't sing for 2 months, all because a 32-year-old man messaged me and everybody said I was a sports girl. Right, I was already feeling shame, whatnot. I was sitting at the back of the church and that kind of thing, and then my parents, they seized my phone, and yeah, that was what happened. And they didn't suspend the guy or anything. Usually in churches, when like something breaks out like that, they would suspend the perpetrator or whatnot, or even if they are suspending everybody, they will suspend everybody. They still let him play in the altar. Right, I'm going to church every day, I'm seeing this guy still playing, while I have to step back from doing something that I loved so much for 2 months because it was embarrassing. Right, then in my head I was already starting to question, like, is it my fault? I shouldn't have responded to his messages in the first place. This one, that one. And then something happened months later. A girl got pregnant in church. Not in church, but like she got pregnant, and everybody at church heard about it. And then they suspended her from church, and they asked her to sit at the back of the church, and they even announced it on church. They were like, sister, this person got pregnant, she will now be permanently suspended from the choir. My heart broke. Like, I have never like I'm not even the girl, but like I can't imagine how embarrassing that must have been for her. Like, so you are going to suspend her, right, for getting pregnant? Fine, she committed the sin of a fornication or whatnot, she got pregnant. You're going to embarrass her like that. But the man that was messaging minors still gets to play on the altar. Yeah, that night I overheard my parents having a conversation, and then my mommy, they were basically saying like, you know, this is not right, why would you embarrass her like that? They were having all these conversations and like the right questioning in the house, but then they wouldn't say anything, they wouldn't stand up. I can't blame them though, but I get, well, like, still. So that was one of the major events that I was like, wow, is this really what the church is? Embarrassing people. Oh, she had before marriage. Just because you knew. If you didn't know, uncle, that side. Months later. Also, this particular pastor self was just a very weird, odd man. Like, the kind of things he would say on the altar. I remember one time, these two couples, they were getting married, and like, obviously the pastor is wedding them together, and then he made this stateful joke. He was like, he read from a verse in Songs of Solomon. Mind you, everybody knows that Songs of Solomon is already an R-rated scripture in the Bible. Yeah, let's say you have something that you want to say. I don't think explaining in explicit detail in church is the way to preach. He read a verse where Solomon was talking about, wait, I need to find that verse. This is Songs of Solomon 7, chapter 7, verse 7 to 8. It says, your stature is like a palm tree and your breast like clusters of fruit. I said, I will climb the palm tree and I'll take hold of its fruits. I don't know what that had to do with marriage. If there's like a sex ed conference going on in church, fine, read that out loud in front of all those people where minors are present. And then this man proceeded to say, make sure you always suck her. And then he laughed. Me and one girl that were in church, we just looked at each other. We're like, I think like probably only five people laughed in church. Everybody there was like, what? Absolutely not. And that's where I started like, this man is a very odd, weird man. Future, something comes out that apparently this man used to go to clubs. Pastor used to go to clubs and he was having sex with underage girls. Bagam. That sealed the deal for me. No wonder you are also one of him. That's why you refuse to suspend him. And you went ahead saying, oh, the kind of things where you girls they wear for church safe, go they make what the absolute flipping hell. But yeah, that aside, that was one experience, number one experience. And then, other life experiences. I don't want to go too deep into like all these philosophical questions or whatnot, because that's not what my channel is about as well. Sometimes a pretty girl like has to think. But yeah, like, and just a lot of questions like, why would one person be punished? Everybody likes to say all sins are the same, but morally, standard wise, all sins are not the same and they shouldn't be the same, especially in the eyes of the supreme moral judge. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you get what I'm saying? There should be some sort of like level to this hellfire thing. What do you mean? Because I used to steal my whole life, I should not be in the same hellfire that's a fucking murderer or a pedophile is. There's grades to the hellfire thing. There should be like so many other things I could talk about or enhance about. But yeah, let's move on to the next segment of this video. I left Nigeria, I came to this country, and I realized that the way faith is practiced here is very different, right? I don't want to slander, but yeah, because anyways, it's just very different, right? People do it with leisure here, not with pressure, with extreme leisure. But back home, it was like the standard of living. I don't know if I'm using the right words or the right terms, but like, you get the point I'm trying to pass across, right? And I don't want to say it's that leisureness that is making me weak in my faith or whatnot. But yeah, and then I started to realize that yeah, this faith thing is actually very personal, and I don't want to be listening to people to tell me how to practice what I believe in. That's just genuinely where I landed my conclusion at. Like, you get what I'm saying? I also don't want to, like, I want to learn it for myself. I want to be doing the research. I want to be asking the questions. A lot of times these people practice a religion where they're actively practicing it and they don't even know, they don't ask questions, they don't know anything about the religion. They just know the basic standards. I am a this, I am a that, I go to this gimmick or leave it like that. You don't want to open conversations, and then it's like, oh, don't question. Hello, most of the disciples were philosophers. They were questioning, they were asking, Lord, why this? Lord, why that? Lord, explain to me. Lord, I will ask. People just blatantly ignored the verse or the conversation and just ran with the surface level with no context, no shades, but I'm gonna say it, where they are like, you know, women should not wear trousers, this, that. In those times, men were wearing robes. And they bring the verse where it says a man should not dress like a woman should not dress like. So why would the verse say that where men actively in those times were wearing gowns? You know what I mean by gown. I don't mean like gown with floral design, but like, why were they not wearing trousers? And then I looked into the verse, and the context of that verse was Israel was going through a war at that time, and it was compulsory for all the men to go out and fight and the women to stay back home and protect the kids and all that stuff, right? So the Lord was giving out extreme law. He was like, don't want to see men dressing like women, those men that want to hide and they don't want to fight in the war, so they will dress like women to protect themselves from the authority to take them out to war. That was the context of the verse, and they ran with it. And even one where they're like, oh, women should not be pastors or speak in church, and then they bring this verse from Corinthians, and women shouldn't speak in church, they should be quiet, and they miss the verse below it that literally says, because this was Paul writing to the Corinthians church, he says it like this: women shouldn't speak in church. And then the verse goes, or is it you that created these laws yourself? He was asking the Corinthians people. I did not see where God said that. You are the one making all these laws and making all these rules for yourself and tying it to my name. Oh, women shouldn't do this, women shouldn't do that. But then God called Deborah to lead the war in Israel. Mind you, she was married and she had kids, and the Bible never mentioned anything about her husband, her wife. They only mentioned her achievements. She led the people of Israel into a war. So what are we saying? Not only that, I know it's gonna sound like, oh, you're trying to find justifications for why you still believe in God, even though you know that you don't believe in God. I believe in God. I'm sorry, I still pray. My biggest problem is that I cannot question. I cannot ask. When you ask, they get angry. Oh, yes, you just have to follow. You just have to follow all these things. You just have to follow. You just have to follow. No, I don't just have to follow. The Bible says Daniel understood by books because the guy was educated, right? And being educated does not only mean he went to school and he graduated. The thirst for knowledge, wherever it is being wanting to be educated. So why can't I do the same? By that logic, you're probably committing a sin by not asking questions. Yeah, I believe that God exists. Yeah, because there are also plenty of experiences that have proved to me that God exists that I cannot just blatantly ignore. That's just it. I'm very in between. That's just what it is. And I think I'm okay. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. You get, but right now, to be honest with you, I like where I am. And I'm going to keep questioning. I'm going to keep running back to the faith. It's gonna look like I'm running away from it, but trust me, I don't think anything in this world can make me not believe that God exists, even though I question, even though I have doubts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the point of this video is not to sway you away or make you feel like, oh, you're not doing it right by not asking questions, because, you know, in general, we're different people. You get what I'm saying? Like, and there might be something that the religion makes you feel so comfortably in that, like, I would never experience and I would never understand. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't go out judging people. That I have lots of friends that I love it for them. Like, wow, you like, and they don't piss me off in any way. They don't, you know, get what I'm saying, try to shut me up or like say, oh, I beg, you're always questioning or whatnot. Okay, well, they're probably very comfortable, and that's okay. I wish I could be comfortable, but I can't. That's just me in general. But also, that doesn't mean you shouldn't question and educate yourself and like just want to understand what you're defending and what you're standing for. Get what I'm saying? Exactly that point. You have to know what you're standing for and what you're defending. Because if I'm going out to preach to people and tell them Jesus loves you, da 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 da, these are the hardcore questions that they're gonna ask me. What am I gonna say? How is saying we cannot know all the answers, only God? How is that going to convince them to want to actually, because, you know, I can't convert anybody. You get what I'm saying? They can do it, they will only do it all by themselves if they choose to, because there's a choice. You get what I'm saying? But saying, oh, we don't have all the answers, yeah, sorry, it's not going to cut it at all. Remember, when Jesus was on earth, he was just not telling people God is the way, God is the truth of the life. If you not follow me, you go to hellfire. He was actively going out, holding, I put it as convention meetings where he was answering questions and explaining to people this and that, and they were asking him questions and he was answering. As a follower of Christ, we should be able to do that and not just want people to magically turn to your faith because you told them that they will go to hellfire. So yeah, I'm gonna get ready for work now and I'm gonna go. I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but I'm gonna try and cut it as much to try like send across this message. I'm gonna have this video saved for like probably a month and I'm gonna do other videos. I don't want to start my YouTube career with this big bombshell.